Welcome to episode 27 of the RebelRebel podcast. I'm your host, Michael Darkey, and this episode brought to you by Make More Creative and Drop Bear and Panda Productions. In this episode, I get to sit down with the chief instructor of Too Cool Motorcycle School, Trevor Dech. We talk about a shared passion of riding motorcycles and how he's built one of the best motorcycle training facilities around. You can ask any of the 25,000 students Trevor has taught. Yeah, 25,000. Learning to ride a motorcycle can be a little scary, but Trevor and his team make it not only a lot of fun, but super accessible and a lifelong skill. Kick back, relax, and enjoy episode 27 on the RebelRebel podcast. It's Motorcycles, where freedom begins with Trevor Dech. Mr. Trevor Dech from Too Cool Motorcycle School.
That's me. Yeah. Is that me? I'm sitting right here.
You're sitting right
We're
there.
We're friends. That's Too Cool Motorcycle School. I think I own it. I think everybody owns it. You know what I mean? It's just a part of the community.
Yeah, it is. Well, so Too Cool. Just let's give people that are listening a bit of history here. So you and I were teaching together years ago. Like I'm talking 30.
Don't say it. Oh, you had to say it. I just knew it. I was going to say 3 days ago, but anyhow, 30 plus years ago.
Yeah, give or take. We were working at a place called A Driving School,
right beside Lick's Ice Cream.
That's right.
That's it.
Down on Bonus Road.
Pretty close. Yeah, let's
Memorial, whatever it's called. Anyway, long story short, is we have a shared love of motorcycles. Now you took that love to a whole nother level.
Oh yeah.
and I don't know how many years you started Too Cool ago, but X number of years, I'm sure you're going to tell me, you started Too Cool Motorcycle School, and it is one of the staples of Calgary. You can't throw a stick without hitting somebody who's taken one of your courses.
There's a few out there now. I think it's coming up to maybe up to 25,000 students over the years.
25,000.
Yeah.
Holy.
It's pretty cool. Like it's Cincy. It's a whole city out there just roaming around there in their cars and bikes and looking out for each other. And some under a different flag with A Driving School, which became Fleet Safety. In 2003, the Too Cool name started getting out there. And we've just been lucky. We've been able to teach out of the same lot for years out of McMahon Stadium. So people driving by or riding by, beeping their horn. It's great for us. We always wave, and we know someone's alive, so that's good.
That's awesome. So you're still in the let me think here, southeast corner of McMahon Stadium.
You betcha. If you can smell bacon, we're right there because Denny's is right across the street.
Oh, right, yeah. Awesome. Well, and what a great lot too.
I was just talking to John Haverstock, one of the main people at the McMahon Stadium Society. My dad always loved that lot too, just the way it's sloped. Yeah. The rain goes off, it dries quickly. They've removed a bunch of stuff, so it's even safer than it ever was. So it's I still maintain it's one of the best places. Close to C-Train, parking's for free, all that kind of stuff. So a big shout out to McMahon Stadium Society. They've been such an amazing friend for all these years, for sure, and so nice to deal with.
Oh, that's great. That's really good to hear, because I know when I first started, we were up at the airport. So when I was first started teaching, we were up at this really crazy airport track.
I heard about that.
Yeah, and I took my training under a guy named Ken Mowry, who I haven't heard from in probably 35 years. Anyway, a long time ago. And then I think A Driving School moved to McMahon, then you took it over in 2003. Yeah. And I mean, when you talk about 25,000 students, like that's a staggering number of students.
It's coming up to my 28th year and 25,000. What does it mean? I'm getting old. Yeah. But it's it's the really cool thing about that, Mike, and I think you know this, is you taught someone many years ago, and all of a sudden their kids come get taught, and now I'm getting their kids.
Oh my God!
So there's generations of riders out there that are kind of learning that brand. And when I worked with a guy named Mike Kaufman for years, just at the last little bit of A Driving School, and he was the one that actually kind of got Too Cool going with a financial friend.
Oh, great.
And they kind of did. In 2006, his wife was asked to go work for Lululemon in Vancouver, and he basically looked at me and says, she makes more than the company. And they just had a little kid, Nikki, and off they went. So he gave me that opportunity to take it over, and I'm like, well, geez, yes, absolutely, please. And, made the sale and all that kind of stuff. He says there's no better person to go to because you've been
awesome.
here the whole time. So I appreciated that.
Now, Mike Kaufman, if I remember correctly, he had that big Ninja 1100.
Yeah, he started with the ZX10 and then he moves in the other one. And I remember looking at that thing, and he had over, I think, don't quote me wrong, but over almost 200 to 300,000 kilometers on that bike.
Holy moly.
And like the dude rode all the time. It didn't matter. He didn't have a car.
Yeah.
He just found a place to live within his means and rode everywhere he could. And if it was snowing, he would even ride. And he'd come back with probably bags of co-op groceries on either handlebar and coming it home to his blind cat that I didn't know if he was, an evil person or whatever. But that was his way of life, and he loved doing it. And he was very educated. I learned all my rather large words from him, and it was a pleasure riding with him for many years. That's for sure.
That's awesome. Do you guys still keep in touch?
Yeah, he's living in Vancouver in Point Grey with his family and stuff like that. And Nicky's grown up, and it's just amazing to see Nicky ride as much as he does and stuff like that. Awesome. And the true talent that's behind Nicky's bloodline with Mike is just amazing. And every once in a while, if I get to Vancouver, we'll meet up for a coffee or a cinnamon bun or something like that, and we'll just talk about the days of old type thing, and we always have some stories to tell for sure.
Yeah, that's cool. You have a really interesting. One of the things I love about Too Cool is I've always felt that you've done it right, and you've built this community because in your trailers you've got pictures of every single graduating class. I think.
At least if we remember the camera, different now with the iPhones. But yes, we tried to do that.
Yeah, and every cohort has its own name, their own gang name.
Sometimes they even name themselves.
Yeah, well, I was going to ask, where do those names come from?
Well, sometimes the name comes from something that maybe happened during the course.
Oh, okay.
And so it's kind of reflected that to kind of remind us of what happened, or sometimes it's just a foolish name, or some of the crazier names and stuff like that is no one could figure our names, so something just blurted out of my mind, which is usually sometimes inappropriate, but sometimes we spin around to the PG level and they get on there and stuff like that. But it really is a team because, everybody that comes up to the school arrives individually, but when they leave, and when we ride together, it's a team.
Right.
And it's amazing from some individuals that, they don't know what they're getting into, but they realize this is a true community. And really that's a testament to why I'm going to remain doing this for another 18 years.
Yeah.
And 69, I'm going to go out and ride. But, people come to the show and see it. We have the wall of fame when people come up with their own bike and we take a picture of it.
Yeah. And
we put it up on there. So everybody, when they get their learner vest, sorry, can we, no, I'm just kidding. Learner vest on and go out for the road. That vest is put on by me to them in front of all their peers, and that they can appear on that 1, 2, 3, 100 times, whatever it is.
Yeah.
I wish I actually had a picture for every single student I ever taught.
Yeah.
I'd need more trailers for sure, but
no
but
kidding.
that's what it is. And I look at those, and last night I was reviewing the galleries and some of the old pictures back in the driving school days with Canute and a bunch of people and seeing the old shacks up there, and I never ever get sick of looking at that stuff. I don't. It reminds me of, you got to keep it real, and why are we in this? We're in this, not everybody's meant to ride a motorcycle. I know some people can't chew gum and walk.
Yeah.
And
sure.
But the other 99%, we're trying to help out there and have a fun time doing it for sure.
That's great. What are some of because you just don't do the lot training, you do all sorts of other stuff too with bikes.
Well, we've kind of kept it pretty simple.
Yeah.
We keep the classes small. I want to know everybody's name. I remember one guy, his name was Paul, and he went to another school, I think a couple of years prior, didn't really get what he wanted or whatever, and he still had his helmet from that day, never rode on the street, and on it was some masking tape with his name, Paul. And I said, well, I don't think you really be needing that, but he goes, I'll leave it on there. So every time he'd come up to me, I'm like, okay, Tim, he says, my name's Paul. I'm like, oh, sorry about that. Next time he come, hey, Scott, he says, my name's Paul. As soon as he ripped it off, then I always called him by Paul, and we got a good little chuckle out of that and stuff like that.
Oh, that's awesome.
And he ended up coming through because life gets in the way sometimes. He finished his training, he really enjoyed it,
yeah.
but there was no time for it. And then even just a couple years ago, he came back without the tape on his helmet and a brand new helmet.
Yeah.
And wow, did he excel. The people that I see come through 2 or 3 times, because first time you come through and, I work with you long enough, and a pleasure working with you for years. It's training motorcycles is like drinking out of a fire hose.
Oh yeah.
It's just, oh my God. There's information coming in there. So you don't know what's being consumed, what doesn't. So you can't adjust the flow.
Yeah.
Because it's all dependent on the person.
Yeah.
And sometimes I say it's like throwing spaghetti at a wall. Some will stick, some will drop, but we're going to keep chucking it until it's done. And then you go from there. And maybe you go seek other training. So we've tried to keep it just in the basic, but we've started to play a little bit around with off-road training. Yeah. I went through Blackfoot training and I helped Jeremy McGregor, rest his soul. We lost him a few years back at a racetrack in Eastern Canada. And, I worked with him just training on the BMWs with Blackfoot for a long time. I took a course with Rawhyde, big shout out to Jim Hyde and stuff like that for Ryan. Yeah. What a great program that he offers. Same as Blackfoot, just done over 2 days. Yeah. So we just have a simple little 1-day gravel course now, really. It's just fun because I'm not a hard-nosed, going to go out there and climb some mountain of shale. I kind of did that in Baja and scared me half to death. In fact, the second day I saw Jesus 9 times. It was the baby Jesus because I love baby Jesus.
Jesus.
But exactly. So I just want something that someone feels comfortable, not only riding on the street, but if they encounter gravel, because we know there's a lot of roads and there's so many amazing places where you can go, no traffic, but it's nice to have that good foundation. We're thinking of getting in some intro to riding courses that people that don't know, maybe as a couple want to come out and try it for a couple hours, get them on a pedal bike first. And then, so we're looking into that. And we've done some private. What I was looking through last night in the galleries is the advanced course that we used to run at Race City. I remember that dream that we had that advanced school with a driving school, and we were doing on a little YSR 80s and 50s at Card Gardens, and of course they shut down, and eventually all the bikes ended up selling to the Alberta Mini Racing Association and stuff like that, and sometimes they just gave it away. So, but there's maybe some hope for a track eventually. And we'd love to see another advanced school so people bring out whatever bike they got and just enjoy the day out there, not worrying about traffic and all that stuff. I still get people coming up and first thing to do, when's the advanced course? I'm like, well, we can't do it on the road safely, but we can do it on track. So now getting into performance riding, we'd like to get a school like that maybe coupled together with Yamaha Champion School because I'm going to be hopefully teaching for them here shortly. So I'll go down to the States and help out on some of the courses that they do. I'm just starting my 3C certification with them. And it's humbling to realize how good of a rider is out there. Yeah. And I'm just blown away that I want to surround myself with the people with a very passionate attitude and a real understanding about the sport. And it hopefully makes me a better rider and coach and be able to give that information away as well.
So is there an opportunity to bring that school up north?
Yeah, I was talking to Nick Guynotch and Chris Paris, which is a local guy here. Yeah. He owns part of it. Keith Culver is the other majority owner as well in that whole little thing there. I don't know what the percentages are, but whatever. I think we all own it. But they said, there's an opportunity to maybe have the Champ School up here maybe. And I thought, what a great opportunity for anyone within the province or Canada to receive some of the highest level instruction. And it doesn't matter what bike you have, how long you've been riding for, as long as you know how to clutch and move off, shift up, shift down, they'll work with everything. And I was so happy in 2007. That was actually one of the first courses I ever took because I was never professionally trained at all. I just jumped on a bike at 3 years old and off I went, did a little motocross and a little bit of racing in 86, 87, got into teaching in 91. And then went back to the racetrack and won a couple titles there as an amateur and had a real good first pro year and stuff like that. And then I worked for another performance school here in town, but it was 2007 that actually changed my life with Freddie Spencer and his 3-day pro school and Nick Guynotch, which was the chief instructor then. Well, he's with the Champion School and he's like, love to do something like that. So there's definitely an opportunity to bring that caliber of coaching up here, and
amazing.
And that's and we try to give that just even at the basic course.
Oh, sure.
You know, and like I said, there's that fire hose. You just never know. Someone's going to take it in and get it, and maybe that'll make a difference of hitting a car or not hitting a car.
Yeah.
Little things like for forever that you and I we kind of recommended. Well, don't cover the brake. You know, just use it when you need to. But now we're saying cover the brake all the time.
Really?
Yeah, cover the front brake all the time, because Nick said one thing on the last course to me, and that's what rung a bell kind of in my mind. He says, you know, in the military, which they train a lot of, they train for the threat.
Right.
And if you're in mid-corner and you don't have your hand on that trigger, essentially the brake, like someone going into a room to clear it, let's say in the military, what if you have the time it takes to reach for the brake, it's too much. Huh. So if you're already on it, already using the brakes, all you need to squeeze a little bit more to slow down, change your radius, come off it, go wider, whatever the case is, it gives you that opportunity. But I was almost doing a disservice because I couldn't find a way how to do it. I thought I'd introduce it later, but it's not. It's not an advanced technique. It's a survival technique right from the beginning. So,
see, and I'd be worried about people just grabbing a mitt full of front brake in a corner.
It's because we never took the time at the beginning to go, hey, let's get a feel for the brakes. Mm. So what we're going to do now, when people first do the little push and we line up to go downhill, I'm going to have everybody touch the brake and say, okay, if you grab the brake, see what happens. It just jumps on there. Yeah. Why don't you, like you're pouring a coffee, just pour it nice and slow. Just apply a little bit of that initial brake just to build up the pressure and load the tire before you work the tires, Nick and Champion School say. And it's just about getting a feel for how to use it. And if people cover it, if they need it, it's there. They don't have to reach to grab. So it's just a lot more tactile. It's a lot more feeling.
Interesting.
When you apply it. So that's what we're going to really do this year and show people, look, it is a very essential part of riding, and it's something you have to get used to using, just like how you have to be careful on that throttle and releasing the clutch nice and easy. It's just another control. Yeah. So if we I think if we coach it and introduce it right, which is our jobs to introduce that, I don't really feel it's going to be an issue. Huh. And if someone does panic and go down in the lot, well, at least it's on a lot. It's on our bikes. They don't have to but it's in a controlled environment under coaching, and we're there to help if there is. But I think if we do it properly, no, I don't think. I know if we continue to teach it, coach it properly, it's going to be just a part of riding right from the beginning, rather than hiding. Because I was told once, don't teach it because I don't want to break my levers and stuff like that because it costs someone else money in another company. Well, I own the company, and if it breaks a couple levers and they learn a lesson in the lot, that might have saved them from, hitting something severe out there. Yeah,
fair enough. How many bikes do you have right now?
Well, we're in the process of getting a few more because we want to turn the fleet around and keep something relatively new and up to date up to there. So we at any one time probably about 30 bikes and stuff like that. Now, I know that's a lot, but we don't have, I don't want to keep one bike for every person. I remember back in the driving school days, I'd had people have to share bikes because we only had a limited supply. So we have, let's say, 12 students, 30 bikes, and I'm going to start someone on, one bike for 2 days just to build up some confidence and get used to the controls. And then they have an option the third day to try something a little bit different. Maybe as long as it's not too heavy or too tall, so it's not distracting from what the third day, which is what we call our emergency day, is. Yeah. But the greatest thing now is on the fourth day before the road ride, we have our chat, and then we practice a fun ride, just riding stagger, and you can pick any bike you want. If something's too heavy or too tall, we're going to be there to help you move off, and you come stop with us. And it's a really good way to introduce a lot of different types of styles to the bikes. And because people show up and they go, I want a sport bike. And at the end of it, they want to do a purpose bike or do a purpose bike to cruise or whatever the case is. And it's shocking what people end up really appreciating. Yeah. I remember sometimes a few people in my life have come up and go, don't put me on the crotch rockets. I'm not riding the crotch. I'm like, it's okay. So we're on a cruiser. We're on something else. And, the last day comes along and I'm like, hey, do me a favor. You built up a rapport with someone. You can say, look, I'm not trying to sell you anything. Yeah. I just want you to feel that when you're out there riding in Bragg Creek and you see a sport bike, that you can say, you know what, I rode one of those. I didn't prefer it, but I can see why you like it. Yeah. And then I swear, 2 laps around the lot, I see them grinning so much. And then they come off mad at me going, hey, why didn't you tell me about this bike? Or it's way easier. I'm like, I'm just stepping back from that conversation. But the whole idea is we want to build that confidence. We want to show some stuff that they need to practice correctly the rest of their career. And the onus is on them to practice, because practice doesn't make perfect.
Right.
And this is right from Ken Hill from Champion School. Perfect practice makes permanent.
Right.
And I totally agree with that. So, we're going to show you how important your eyes are to your safety and what you need to practice correctly the rest of your life.
Yeah.
And then search for training. Go somewhere else and challenge yourself a little bit. Get out of that green level of riding where you're happy and challenge yourself into to yellow. Then your green becomes bigger.
Yeah.
And train for that that threat and go out there. It's a simple sport, but sometimes it can be difficult.
Yeah. Well, yeah. There's so many things going on, and you have to drive for everybody else around you. And you do a thing every summer. I want to say every summer you do a special, head out and do some camping and do some special motorcycle stuff. What is that?
Well, it's pardon me. It's called we do it. It's essentially my vacation. Essentially, we take it during Stampede, and we've never. I've never really liked teaching during Stampede. I remember in the driving school days, they moved us up to North Hill Mall or Mount Royal College. We had to put all the bikes in the circle and tie them up. And I'm just like, you know what? I've had more issues out on road rides in times like that. There's so many people from out of town.
Oh yeah.
And and you think the amount of drinking and stuff like that. So you want to kind of take yourself out of that danger and go somewhere maybe a little better. So years ago, there was a guy named Knut Skarstall, and I remember when I first met him in the driving school days, he already had his license. He got a grandfather down at Bowness where he could just pay money and get whatever he wanted. So he came up, he says, Trevor, tell me the truth. Do I need lessons? Well, even watch him get on a bike, that was enough for me. And I said, you know what, why don't you roll in and take it? And I remember he's coming through, and it was a little bit of a challenge. He
rode the BMW.
Yeah, he had that old R50, and he came out to a lot. He's struggling with some little thing. He's accountant minded, right? So he's very linear. Everything has to be this and that. And
it's the 8-move skill test.
Yeah, that's right. And he was doing okay with a lot of except till it came to the push steering, where the whole idea is you have to look right, push right. The bike then leans and then goes that way. Well, no, it did not compute. And I think back then I had a small little pot of learning skills and teaching skills from, and I was I didn't know what to do, so I said, I'm going to get on the back and you're going to ride and I'm going to push the handlebar for you.
Yeah.
So and as soon as I pushed, he just stopped. He says, get off. Got on, and he did that amazingly. Yeah. Right up into his last days of riding, where he came up and could still do a push steering. I'm just like, that's what I'm talking about.
Right.
So as the body, moments. Oh gosh, and and from that point we became friends. And that's years before this Nakusp ride. He would come by and bring us Tim Hortons and donuts, and he's always asking me if I needed something. He's bringing apples and cookies from home, and and he always wanted to say hi to everybody, and he always put something into it. I called him my lucky rabbit's foot, because every time he came along, it was always good.
Yeah.
And then one time, I was going through some stuff in my life, and I looked at him and said, you know what? Why don't you and I heard about this place called Riders Retreat from Daryl Mack. He's a comedian that travels the world on a motorcycle. And he says, you got to check out Rebecca and the family at Riders Retreat. And I'm like, where's that? Nakusp. I'm like, where's Nakusp? Because I really have not done much riding. I went down to Kalispell once in 90-something, came back, and I've been teaching ever since. So I still have more party kilometers on racetracks than I do on today's roads. That might be changing now. But I said to him, let's go. And he says, yeah, I'll go, but only one thing, one condition. I'm like, what? I pay for everything. I'm like, he's an old Norwegian guy, right? So I'm like, darn it. Okay, fine. And he and I spent 3 days and maybe around 1,300 to 1,400 kilometers. And for him, when he got back, he was pretty tired and stuff like that. I think he slept for a week. But from that point on, it was one of the biggest highlights. And he says, I don't think I'll ever do it again. He says that took a lot out of me, but just to get to do it with you and I and nobody else.
Awesome.
And it came in my mind, because while we were out there, I was kind of coaching him. This is where you want to be. This is how you use the body position. We're not speeding. We're going the speed limit. We're watching, doing our P's and Q's out there and having a lot of fun doing it. And so when I came back the next year, I think it was after the bike show, and maybe a week or two after, I just posted, I'm going to Nakusp, everybody, during this time to this time. And I don't know if it was a week, 2 or 3 weeks after, I posted up on FaceTube or TubeFace or whatever that is, social media. And I get a call.
He's good with motorcycles, ladies and gentlemen, but technology.
You got to be good at one thing. Everything else, I'm kind of not good in. But I get a call from Riders Retreat, and they're like, would you like to book another weekend? Because it's filled. I'm like, oh, I mean, I can't go? No, it's filled. It's filled with people that know you that just want to come along. I'm like,
oh my God.
Wow, this is kind of new. It's kind of cool. So, and that's kind of when it started. Wow. And we run that. We're not going to run it this year because I said to everybody, I said, you know what? We've been doing it a while now, and I love doing it. But I also love someone else, and I love my wife. And I haven't been down the Oregon coast. I haven't gone to Hurricane Ridge. I'd like to go down there. So I said, we're going to take a break this year, and maybe we'll do something the year after. Yeah. Right now, I'm gonna go for a little vacation myself with my wife, and that's kind of what we're going to do this year. And my wife, well, I met her at the lot in 2013, just after my dad passed away and stuff like that. So one spot emptied and awesome, kind of filled that. She's such a passionate individual about the sport, and a big part of what our company is today, and that's why we call her the mom, the motorcycle operations manager. So I love her dearly and stuff like that. And to be able to get to ride with her, a couple years ago we took her out to Pridmore, and she's like, racetracks? I don't think, I'm a mom, I got 2 kids, I don't know. So she was a little timid out there, but the coaching there was pretty good. But she really shined at the Yamaha Champions because I saw her interacting with people. She's pretty much, she'll stay back for a little bit unless she likes what's going on. Then, all right, this is kind of cool. And it was great to see her out in the track, and great to pass her every now and again and stuff like that. So it's
bye, honey.
Wave on the way by. I don't really pay too much attention. I'm like, there's a pylon, that's whatever. But anyhow, that's just about everybody. But that's the fun part of it, and it's great to see her enjoying riding to her level, what she wants to be in, because I know it's going to make her a safer rider on the road, and she has a lot to stay alive for, and she now can, she's not an instructor, but she can still coach someone because she understands about it. She sees what I see and give me a different outlook of how to maybe approach or talk to someone and stuff like that. So I'm an instructor based on many people I've met. You have a big part of who I am today.
Oh, thanks.
Sensei Creasy, my ninjutsu sensei for many years, is a big part of my life. Nick Einoj, Chris Parrish, Keith Code, Rich Oliver. The list goes on. I myself probably know nothing, but I've taken little bits from everybody to make this package. So I have nothing but thanks for everybody that I've been able to be with in my life, good and bad. And sometimes the bad, it deflects you in a different path. And I wouldn't have got where I was today. And I'm glad for it. So thank you, everybody involved.
Yeah, well, that's great, man. That's a good, healthy attitude. I wasn't exaggerating at all that you can't throw a stick without meeting somebody that knows you. Like, so I know tons of people in Calgary, obviously. And as soon as we talk about motorcycles, I'm like, oh, where'd you get your training? Oh, Trev. Or Too awesome. Cool. I mean, it is 100% of the time. I have never met anybody that hasn't learned from you.
Oh, that's pretty cool, man.
Yeah, a good friend of ours, like Jen and I, Teek Sato.
Oh yeah,
he went through I want to say 2 years ago.
Yeah, we call him Kill Switch. You should ask him about that.
Oh, I have.
Yeah. Oh, good.
Yeah, we know all about it. Yeah, and apparently he's got a piece of a fairing.
He does. Yeah, the fairing and stuff. I gave that to him. Maybe put in a little shadow box.
Yeah, I think that's what he did.
But I tell you, he is a wonderful individual.
Yeah,
he has just gone over and above. All of a sudden, he's just doing stuff, designing stuff for us.
He's part of your tribe, right?
He is. And we took him on into Nakusp's, and he was a little bit of above his, because it was raining, it was pouring. He's like, I don't know if I like this. And I said to him, you know what? If I honestly thought that you couldn't do this, I would never ask you.
Yeah.
So if you don't have belief in yourself, this guy believes in you. You can do it.
Yeah, right.
We gave him our 500 from the school, and it was just a pleasure seeing him progress through his different emotional roller coaster settings that he puts himself into most of the time. Sure. But that's him, and it's and having that common person that we know, it's just awesome that he had a great experience without some challenge. He had some challenges.
Oh yeah,
we all do.
Yeah,
but
I see him post on social media every once in a while, and I saw him. I think he was with you guys at the motorcycle show this past week.
Yes, he was.
And
with his handlebar thing on his waist. Awesome, just great.
My heart just explodes when I see that, because I know how I know how much of yourself you put into the teaching, and what just a pure thing this is. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, yeah, and people that have been taught by you or have gone through Too Cool know exactly what I'm talking about. That it's you really did build the community. I mean, the community exists kind of, but Trevor, I mean, what you've built is outstanding.
Well, if they can leave with a sense of safety, make them better in their cars, community, respect people, stuff like that. Just like, you know, when they first show up for classroom, if you're there on time, and I'm always there to open the door and shake the hand, and start knowing you right there. And when we leave, we do the same thing. And you come up to a lot, we want to know your name, and that's how it is. And it's that family right away. Yeah. And it's not a mystery of how to learn someone's name for me. It's pretty simple, because I really that individual to come in there deserves that. Because, you know, so many people, they spend a lot of money, and we see people, especially if they haven't come to the classroom first, and they show up at the lot, they're very guarded. Yeah. And they're like, okay, I paid all this money, what am I supposed to get? And within a day, they're like, this is great. And they're showing up around their enthusiasm. And that's what it is. That's the passion. Yeah. And if I didn't feel like that every single day, I want to get there early and set up and have everything ready for everybody. That's part of it. And the bike show, the bike show that just passed, I would say, there's maybe a 2% reduction in attendance, I heard.
Really?
We don't sell courses there. The whole reason why I love being there is two reasons. A promise I made to Walt Healy years ago that, when it was in the World of Wheels, and the bike show wasn't anything until it became the Calgary International Bike Show. And I said to him, I'll always take part in the show somehow. Yeah. And now being with Too Cool, we take those spots, and Lori and Brittany and the whole team, which did a wonderful job. They give us that nice place just before the entrance, and it's great because it's easy to get the trailer in and out for the most part. And, we had some people sign, maybe not as many as years past, but I think a lot of people now, they're not planning super far ahead. Yeah. They're 2 weeks out. That's what I'm hearing, talking with Lanchi and listening to people on their phone. They want to get in. And normally we're packed right until May, June, but now it gives an opportunity for that person that's 2 weeks out. They can get in. Yeah, do you think people are waiting to see what happens with the snow this year? Because last year was a weird one, hey? I'm not going to talk anything about last year at all. I'm going to take a sip. Listen. Huh? Well, yeah. And so back to the bike show. I'm sitting where I normally post, and I look back to my right. So I'm looking down our booth, and I'm seeing the instructor. So, we got Renee, one of the finest individuals I know, and an amazing rider and a coach extraordinaire for sure. He's, I think, come with me almost 12 years now. Wow. He himself came through as a student in 1996. No kidding. To come back and teach. We have Brent LeMay that started with us a couple years ago. He was impatient that he couldn't get into our school. He went to another school and stuff like that. But we found each other some years later, and he's now on his third year. A guy named Daniel Steert is starting with us this year, former student a couple years ago. He came through, his brother came through, his dad came through. Wow. He came out to one of the Nakusp trips, and this guy he wouldn't, how about it this way, he would not leave me alone in a bad way. He always wanted to ride. Yeah. He's like, I want to ride. Where are you going? I'm going to go. And he was there for every single time. He put on as many kilometers as I did. Oh, awesome. And he was right there, and he was respectful. And I'm like, you know what? This kid maybe has a future. So that was awesome. Jamie Kidd, our first girl instructor that we've had with us and stuff like that. And she's come from the advanced course. She's been out to the Nakusp trip, and just a bundle of energy and just happiness. And then a guy named Jack Latta, a former student years ago, almost I think 9 or 10 years ago himself, come back. He helps with the private and part-timers and stuff. But awesome. Yeah, they're there, and they kind of volunteer their time. But then we have the black shirts, and the black shirts with the Too Cool are essentially former students that just want to come out and help. Amazing. Like, we have so many people that says, can I come to the bike show? I'll just help. It doesn't matter what time. I'll stay there all the time. And it's just like, I don't know what I'm just looking back, and like I said, they're selling the course as in they're just talking about it. And people are interested, and they're like, the worst thing at one of those shows is you're walking along and someone grabs you and you're in their booth for 45 minutes. You're like, that's not it. And I always say, if you want to learn how to ride, you have to put your name on the iPad.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do it for you.
Yeah.
So your journey starts here.
Yeah.
And for years past, I'm going to see people come back. And I think this year I saw the X-Men. Now, you might remember the X-Men. A couple Asian dudes, and they rode EX500s. There was a bunch of them in the early 90s.
Yeah.
And they come in the trailer. He says, shakes my hand, 1993, X-Men. Another guy comes in, 1994, X-Men. I'm like, that's awesome. So that's right back in those days. And there was a whole pack of them that all had the EX500s. Yeah. And it was just, I'm just smiling from ear to ear. And they've come along for rides with us, come out to the barbecue. Yeah. It's just so much fun to see. And
that's cool.
It's everybody that just makes me want to keep doing this the best I can. And my sensei, Jason Creasy, calls me up yesterday, and he hurt his ankle, and he was kind of being pushed around in a wheelchair at the bike show, and he just come on to one of the moto talks, and he was in the back, and there's a crowd there, and he says, I had to call you to say, you know what? Your use of metaphors and how you make things that are very technically hard to understand, easy to understand, has always been one of your amazing qualities, because he himself came through the course years ago, and I got to terrorize him a little bit in our confusion training exercise that we've done for years.
Oh, yeah.
And he says, just how you explain how to pick up the throttle, like you're leaving, your bedroom at night and you don't want to wake up whoever, and you're just twisting the throttle, you're sneaking the throttle, that doorknob open. And he says, it made sense to me about sneaking the throttle open a bit to help load the tire before you. And I'm like, I said, it's more or less because when I was explaining why you got to put the throttle on in a smooth linear fashion, I'm like,
what's smooth?
I don't even know what that means.
Yeah.
Where's Mike? Mike knows all that, so I don't know. There's trigonometry in there. I got know nothing about sine, cosine, whatever. But then I started just looking for ways, and then we just got a little cute puppy, a little yellow lab there a couple weeks ago.
Man,
so I'm getting up just because she's new to the house to let her out, and of course my wife's sleeping, and that's when I did. I'm like, that's it. So the puppy allowed me to understand what the proper throttle input is initially. And that's what I search for, because I want to make it easy to understand.
Right. Accessible.
Yeah,
right?
Accessible to everybody.
Everybody's done that.
Yeah, come on, you got to get out. That's
not everybody's ridden a motorcycle, but everybody's done that.
That's right.
Yeah.
So if we can bring some common things into it, that's what Too Cool is.
That's awesome.
It's a simple name as well. 2 O's.
Right.
2 O's in the 2 in the cool, and motorcycle has 2 O's. Well, 2 O's is 2 tires. I always looked at that. I'm like, and we always have 23 letters in our name. And I don't know if you know this. I started teaching when I was 23. And for years, I didn't know that was 23rd Ave, where McMahon Stadium is centered.
No kidding.
Yeah. And my pro number was 69. Valentino Rossi, 46. A lot of things hover on that 23. Weird. I don't know what it is, but
ain't that something?
It's just one of those cool things. Sometimes, cool. Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Yeah. That's wicked. So part of this show is obviously, sharing guests with the world that might not have any idea, who's going to be on next. And one of the things I like to do towards the end is ask, a couple things, a couple non sequiturs, like what's your favorite book? We'll get to that in a sec. But what would you say to somebody who's, thinking about diving into a business or an opportunity, a creative endeavor, and they're kind of worried about it? Like, is there a thing that you've sort of kept with you all these years? Like, do you do it for money? Do you do it for love? Do you do it for scratching an itch? Like, what's your motivation?
I've always said to myself, it's not about the money. Now, you do have to make enough money to feel comfortable.
Sure.
I've always said, as long as I have enough money in the bank to buy a chocolate bar.
Yeah.
Because I remember one day going to work at Long McQuaid Music, and I went into Max, and I wanted to buy a Big Turk. Put the Big Turk down, insufficient funds.
Ouch.
And I just went, the bank must have made a mistake. But
yeah.
And I never got my chocolate bar that day.
And a Big Turk, which is a great chocolate bar, by the way.
Some wouldn't agree, but I tend to. And there's a donut in town, I heard, that is made up of this.
What?
I'm telling you, it's out there. All Can't have it right now. I still got 3 more weeks on the challenge. Going to trim up a little bit. I still got to go to the champ school. But so thank you for agreeing with me, because it is a true candy bar.
It is
true.
I think the finest candy bar.
It was off tangent, but still.
Yeah.
There's official candies. I don't know if anybody knows this. I have to share with this for Hyde Shoe is the official motorcycle candy.
Is it?
We got sponsored by them really last year.
Wow.
After about 300 emails going, why don't you get back to us? And finally they did.
That's
I
amazing.
even have the eyeglasses to prove it.
Wow.
Yeah, come out to the lot, you'll see them on for sure. But getting back to your point, honestly, it's you must first love whatever it is.
Yeah.
If you love designing things and you get a thrill of looking at architecture or whatever the case is, because there's got to be something inside for us to grow. If you're pushed into it because someone wants you to, and you're really not into it, we'll find out pretty quickly that it's not for you.
Yeah.
I was told once, it's almost like Michelangelo. Michelangelo said, well, I didn't sculpt it. I just removed the material. The object was inside, and that's all we do. People come in and they're just that slate. Yeah. And what kind of rider's inside? And it could be a cruiser, it doesn't matter. 2 wheels and a motor. Well, scooters don't count because they're powered by hamsters. But anyhow, I know I'll get hate letter for that, but that's okay. Just bring it up. Some of those are pretty good. You can rent one anywhere you want, but if you buy one in Calgary, we'll have some words. Anyhow, just kidding. But you have to love it, because I absolutely love this sport, and I don't just love the riding sport. I love the rewards we get at every class where we hear the highlights of what that person felt when they went on the road. Could have been something in the course itself or on the road. And it could be we do this thing called 23 seconds. Yeah. We stop and we don't do anything for 23 seconds. We just appreciate how we got there. We ask students to take a picture in that moment, send it to us, #23. And it kind of allows us as instructors to live vicariously through them of what was important to them. And what's the coolest thing, I'd think that all the older people that came through would respect it. No, I see more people like 18, 19 go, that was their favorite part. Just stopping and just overlooking Silver Springs or wherever we stop. And I'm like, they get it. I wish I got it that early. And that's something that just came about doing our off-road course where I wanted to stop, and finally there was no noise. Because Crowchild Trail where we train, it's always road noise, but finding just that one moment, it was awesome. Yeah. And so passion and love of it, and how you affect people. People building a house and see one come in, like you see those home shows and how they redesign, and people are you can tell that they're thoroughly just blown away with how their house, where they hated it before, now it's just like, this is it. I'm not just going to go buy something else. I like this. Yeah. Some people change, but it's all for them. And you do this sport because it's a way of recharging your smile. What life takes away, riding will give it back. That's really awesome. Will.
I believe that wholly and completely. Yeah. Amazing. What's your favorite pastime besides riding?
Hanging out with my family. Yeah. Because, once you start training, and as well as I do, it's a lot of hours out there. Oh, yeah. And, you have your extended family, all the people riding and the beeping. I'll come by and say hi. Yeah. But I'm not going to say antisocial. I just kind of draw myself back in, in the wintertime. And I love hanging out with my wife and, playing with my kids if I can. Now we got the puppy and stuff like that. And my pastime, honestly, is just reading some manuals and just anything like motorcycle related, and, with, reading something that might even rereading my manual or our manual on that. And that goes for everybody out there. Like, it's my partner one time said we should charge for the manual. I'm like, say, why? Because Mike and I wrote it, not you. Yeah. And it's the information that was shared with me that I'm just sharing in a format that makes more sense to me. It has a lot of pictures and some poor humor probably in there. So you can always go to the website, go to the resource, download it. It's free. Yeah. And you might learn one thing, because I never had the money to afford training when I was growing up. But I know if I would have took some sort of foundational training, I would have been better today for sure. Right. It's like anything you want to be in your life. You with martial arts, you have to start in the foundations, and all of a sudden you can grow from it. Yeah. But, some people, getting into sport, it's, and we talk about that little seed inside, whatever, I had one person come through and they would hear a motorcycle on Crowchild Trail and they're like, I want to do that someday, or they see it, or their family member, and that's the seed that we talk about. Yeah. So make sure you ride for yourself, because it's a selfish and selfless sport at the same time. It's the most individual, great group sport you can be. You can ride by yourself, be with a whole bunch of people, not even talk to anybody till you stop and then go ride again. And that's, I think, I love about it. I love being around people with bikes and stuff like that. But anything away from bikes, I think I'm a little more socially awkward than anything. I don't have a favorite book. I don't really read.
Yeah.
I just reread certain things like Nick Einoch's book and David Howe's book and Keith Code's book and manuals and little information that interests me. It keeps my interest where I don't have to get lost in a book.
Yeah.
I want to get lost in my own head going, where would I love to go next if I can get there?
Okay, so let's tie it up this way in a nice bow. What's your ultimate road trip on a bike? You said you're waiting till you're 69. You're going to do this too cool motorcycle school until you're 69. Then you're going to take some time for yourself.
Well, I thought I'd use the next 18 years to take as many courses as I can and maybe be able. Now, I don't have aspirations about going around the world. I have a problem with sand. No. It's kind of been there and done. I don't want to follow a Jedi anyhow. It's just they've already set the path, and it looks really hard actually.
Yeah, especially Russia.
I just can't. I can't see myself just like in Grand Tour with Richard Hammond falling 4,000 times. Like the second time, I'd be like, you know what? Can I take the helicopter out of here? I'm not that. I just want to go somewhere I can just ride and enjoy every little bit. I think the road trip is just being able to go. You know what? Too Cool is in the hands of someone that's going to continue this tradition. And I don't know who that predecessor will be. Yeah. Definitely not my kids. No, I'm just kidding. And just anywhere on the two wheels could probably take me, and somewhere warmer.
Yeah.
I always thought I want to wake up, have a little breakfast, go maybe ride the hills behind San Diego, come have some lunch, go ride again, come back for dinner, go ride again, come back home. And just, I would love to do that every single day. So, got to get better. Got to get better shape to be able to handle that, and later on in life and stuff like that. But anywhere on two wheels, that would be a trip of a lifetime for me. Even if it's 3 blocks down to 7-Eleven to get myself that Big Turk chocolate bar, whatever the case is. That to me is as simple as it gets.
Amazing, perfect. Trev, thanks so much for joining me.
Dude, thank you so much, man. I can't. Seeing you ride a Honda and stuff like that makes me happy. You know what they say about Hondas, right, everybody? You meet the nicest people. And this guy here is one of the nicest people I've ever met.
Thanks, dude.
And I still remember this guy going down, showing how to do a straight line slow ride wrong. And he's up on one wheel down, banging off a planter, coming back. I still don't know how he hit the planter, turned around, come back this way. I'm just like, I'm at awe at this guy's motorcycle skills. And I'm just like, someday I'd like to be that out of control and in control at the same time. So
I've seen you rip around your emergency braking at the bottom.
That was my stunt double. That was not me.
Oh my God.
But thank you for this opportunity. And everybody, what can I say? If it's in you, go seek some training and have so much fun doing it. And let it recharge that smile, man. That's what it's all about.
Hell yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Trevor. Tune in this Thursday for episode 28 with Daryl Duncan from the Dream Council and Game Beat Studios out of Chicago. He's a musician, a speaker, and all-around kick-ass guy, so don't miss it. Then on Monday, we're back in Canada, but we're heading to Vancouver Island to hang out with Mandy Farmer of Accent Inns. And she shares one of the coolest stories and properties on the planet, Hotel Z. Thanks again for listening. I'm Michael Dargy. The Rebel Rebel podcast is a podcast for creative rebels and entrepreneurs. So if you have got a rebellious streak in you and you want to be on this show, head on over to RebelRebelPodcast.com, and in the footer, the far right column, you're going to find a link where you can fill out a form to be one of our guests. Don't miss it. Subscribe wherever fine podcasts are served. Thank you to Make More Creative and Drop Bear and Panda Productions for sponsoring this episode, and of course the insanely talented EMRE Chords for our theme music.